I think not just because you're a positive leader, but you're willing to, at times be tough on your teammates. How hard is that to hold guys your age accountable in today's day and age?
For me, I feel like it kind of started off kind of difficult because, you want your teammates to like you. You want to be their friends, We're always around each other. We're like brothers. But I think I just really had to realize, like, there's a standard for everything, and friendship doesn't come before the standard. And honestly, once I came with that mindset, it made it a whole lot easier, I'm not really as much worried about, obviously everybody is different. You have to approach guys differently, but for the most part, everybody's tough, thick-skinned people, and they know that I love them and I want the best for them at all times, and I just want to bring the best out of them if they're not performing at that. So I feel like just the relationship I have to have with my teammates so that I can be able to hold them accountable, and then, like, for myself, I always have to make sure that I'm practicing what I'm preaching.
When did you realize that friendship didn't come above the standard?
It had to be around last season. I don't really remember exactly when, but definitely around, like, the midpoint last season, I started to realize that my mindset needs to, like, start shifting into that role.
Is that a result, do you think, of your own maturity, just getting older in the program, or is it a result of the things that you're learning from just coaching staff, the leaders that you've been around now for going into a third year?
I feel like it's a little bit of both. Obviously I've grown in age and experience, so I have my own, like, point of view of different things. But, Coach Rule, Coach Butler, Coach Addison, all the coaches really, they give us great insight on the stuff and the things that it takes to be a great leader. And they kind of just, like, they don't tell us, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. They give us, like, examples. And, every leader is going to be different. Like, I don't expect Deshaun to lead the same way as me. I don't expect Dylan to lead the same way as me, and vice versa. So I feel like just kind of figuring out your best way to take the approach of leadership and just attack it every day.
Butler was in here a few minutes ago, and he said that, talking about Addison, that Butler and Addison have very different personalities, and that John liked that. In what way? I mean, you played for both of them now as position coaches. In what way? Like, how do you see them as different?
I don't know that I really see them as different, like, football wise. Mm-hmm. I feel like maybe off the field, just like engagement with them and, like, conversation with them is a little bit different. Obviously Coach Addy is a little bit closer to our age, and he relates with us a little bit better. But they both love football and they love their jobs. And, every day I feel like any DB could come in the room and say this. Whenever we get here, we know that we're going to get their best foot forward from them. And, like, from a mindset, schematically and all that stuff, like, they both love football. So that's really no different to me. I would just say, like, maybe, like, off the field, or the difference between, like, Coach Butler's meetings and Coach Addison's meetings are a little different, but nothing really crazy on the football side.
The personalities of the DBs are very different too. How do your guys' differences help, make a bigger picture, I guess, for leadership for your room?
I feel like that's what makes our room so close and tight-knit, because there are so many personalities that we have to engage with each other. We can't just sit around, go to meetings, go to practice, and that's the only time we see each other. We're always hanging out outside of the building, even on the weekends after games and stuff. So I feel like just being around each other is what makes it such a tight-knit group and easy to lead. I know those guys, they expect me to lead. It's not really just me always getting on them and getting on them and getting on them. It's positive feedback, but just knowing that, we all come from different places. We all act differently when we're alone, but once we're together, we're one group. And, that's kind of just like we want to move accordingly to that.
How is this team balancing the mantra of that nameless, faceless opponent while also understanding this is Big Ten play, this is Michigan?
I feel like that's kind of been our motto since the season has started. You know, this is just the first week that we've actually like made it a actual physical name of something we were doing. But shoot, since we started week 1 with Cincinnati, we weren't really worried about, you know, the name or who they are. You know, always have a healthy respect for our opponent and making sure that we know anything and everything about them and how they play. But at the end of the day, it's football, and they're just another person across. It doesn't really matter who they are.
Hey, Butler was talking about how one of the changes from last year's pass defense to this year's is where you guys have your eyes. Last year was more on the quarterback. This year it's more on your man. How do you feel like that's improved or changed the way you guys cover the pass?
Honestly, just emphasis on it during the offseason. You know, we really coached it really hard that if we're in man-to-man coverage, your eyes need to be on your man. And so it seems simple, but, you know, the game's moving fast, people are moving around, it's easy to get your eyes somewhere they're not supposed to be. And just everybody making sure that they take accountability for themselves, that your eyes are always in the right place. That way everybody can fly around the field and, you know, it looks better.
Has it changed? I mean, have you guys improved your pass defense as a result?
I mean, I think so. I'd say so for sure.
You played alongside Ernest Haussmann in 2022. Now you're both captains of your respective teams. But what does he do specifically well that's going to provide a challenge for Nebraska's offense?
Honestly, I have the most confidence in our offense. And, you know, I haven't really watched a lot of their defense. Ernest was a great player when he was here, but he was also, you know, a freshman. I feel like it's kind of hard to gauge the difference between him now and then, you know, 3-year difference. He was a incoming freshman. He had a little experience throughout the season. He played really good against Michigan that year. But if you ask me, I always got our offense over anybody. So that's my answer for that.
For you personally, I mean, you didn't get to play last time Michigan was here. I know you were on the sideline for that game, but is there any extra emotion watching that game from the sideline and motivating you this week?
You know, that whole season was tough for me. I would say, like, every game I had to sit and watch from the sideline, I was dreading it. But like we've said, it doesn't really matter who's coming in. This game's important because we're playing in it, and that's how we're going to take every step moving forward.
What do you see on film from Michigan's quarterback and just the challenge he presents your secondary?
I feel like he's a good player, very mobile. He has a very strong arm, but, you know, it's just all about us. I feel like if we play to our standard, our keys are right, and everybody just flies around, it should be a good day for us.